Hi, fellow female activists. Cathy here, your wellness coach and female activist. And today, this is an extra. And this is basically my play on follow the money to explain the chaos. So you see here already that I have three different, or what I want to share are three different, I guess you could say, proof, or let me put it this way. These are three different YouTube channels that I consider independent media that I follow. Okay. And I want this to go out to whomever you feel would be receptive to it. So, I get over the hashtag FAFO and let the facts speak for themselves. Okay. So if you know anyone who split their ticket, right, who voted other than blue, this is a way to help them get perspective. Okay. Everyone's being hurt right now. Okay. So if we can utilize the moment for educational purposes, i.e., to share, hopefully, what would be an opening, okay, for them. So there's that cognitive dissonance happening. Everyone's being hurt, not just, so like they voted a certain way, right? And now they are being hurt. So that changes the whole dynamic. They voted the way they did, and now they're being punished. And that doesn't feel good. So we can use that as the leverage to say, are you open to finding out other perspectives, right? And I would even say, are you open to not just learning about that perspective, but then joining to fight it, right? I am not there yet. I am not ready to to talk to anyone in particular who voted other. And this is my way of saying, okay, if this gets out to anyone and anyone listens and then they take action, then that was worth it. Okay, this was all worth it. But I guess you could say the title of this, right, is Follow the Money to Understand the Chaos. Okay. So these three channels I love. So obviously I'm going to be I'm not going to play because otherwise I'm sure that's copyright infringement of some way, some sort. But all I'm going to do is I'll put the links in the description. And what I'm trying to do, again, is just get this out to people who are willing to listen and to find that different perspective, right? They might have been in a funnel of just propaganda, all right? Or maybe they didn't even bother to get, knowledgeable about what was happening before the election. And now that they're seeing the repercussions of it, now they have evidence, they have receipts, right? And so this is a way to hopefully help them get them involved not only in their own research, but also to take action to stop this. Okay. So the first one I'm subscribed to Brian Taylor Cohen. Everyone loves Brian Taylor Cohen, PTC. And so point number one of follow the money, okay, to understand the chaos. I actually previously had put up a short that said Social Security could be taken away. And I actually ended up taking it down because people were bombarding me. And I'm like, okay, if you don't want to listen, fine. And I also hadn't heard officially, right, in any of the news channels, but we all knew what was going to happen, right? If let's just put it this way, those of us who are in the know were like, no, this is going to happen. It's in Project 2025. So again, I took that one down, but this is exactly, when you listen to it, this is the person who then is telling you what exactly will happen to Social Security if in fact this person gets their way. And I'm not going to pronounce their names because it's sickening for me to pronounce any of their names. But basically, you can call him the co-president. All right. Actually, he probably is the de facto president. And then the other person is just the orange Fanta who's pretending to be the president. But in any case, this, person is sitting on the Joe Rogan podcast quite recently and basically expounding the fact that, yeah, Social Security, it's a Ponzi scheme and it really just needs to go away. So from the person's own mouth, all right, no editing, no nothing. This is this person telling everyone what they believe. So evidence number one, the receipts. Point one, follow the money. These two co-presidents, they're narcissists, they're sociopaths, and they are completely nuts. And I say that with all truthfulness. So many, over 1,000 mental health professionals categorize these two as malignant narcissists. All right. So there is no like, you can't change facts. And this person right here is willing to let his quote unquote workforce in the US die, quite literally. He's willing to let people who require Social Security die, quite literally. So again, point number one here, follow the money. He stands to lose nothing by letting people keep their Social Security. And yet he's willing to just get rid of all social benefits simply because it would be a win for him and to hell with everyone else. So that's point number one of follow the money. This person told you who he was, and he's telling you now who he is. Believe him and do not let him take any of our power. This person is not elected. This is a talking point for everyone, whether you are on one side or the other. No, you did not vote for this person. This person is unelected. This person is part of a fake agency that is trying to take away all of the social benefits that people have paid into already. Okay, I know as a Gen X, Social Security may not be around when it's time for me to access it. And that's okay. I'm all right with that. But my parent, all my older relatives, they depend on Social Security. Hell, there are young people, right, who, because of disability, so forth and so on, they already are, they're already receiving Social Security benefits, disability benefits. All of that goes away because of this sicko. No, he's not even elected. So let's get him out, okay? The budget is so important, the federal budget. One of the stances that the Dems, okay, and everyone else behind them must stand for is this person is completely out of any political situation, just done. Now, what's wonderful is that the Tesla strikes that are happening, they're really having an effect. And hopefully, it will make a dent of some sort in this person's, all they care about is their money. Well, let's hope that their stocks go so low that they can't even bother anymore to be in politics because they now need to figure out how to save whatever is left of their fortune. So again, follow the money to understand the chaos right now. This person is not elected. Thus, he has no right to be anywhere near any of the monies of the US, period. All right. So then point number two. So again, getting your media from other places other than wherever you're getting it from, if you're getting anything. I don't look at legacy media anymore. I don't even bother with, what you'd call traditional media. This is where I'm getting all of my information from. Now, I will go, right? And this is a trusted media source, okay? So yes, this is what you would consider, I guess, traditional media, but it's coming from journalists. Brian Taylor Cohen isn't a trained journalist, but he is awesome, all right? He is like him, Politics Girl. I just didn't happen to have one specific for Politics Girl, but either way, they're getting their homework done, all right? And then they're having experts come to make sure that they're espousing the truth. All right, so this Times Radio, okay, they're actually based in the UK. And this person was talking about the horrific, and yes, it was horrific, because for the first time ever in the Oval Office, that's supposed to be the beacon of freedom and democracy, belittled a hosted dignitary, i.e. a president of a sovereign nation. which, by the way, is under attack illegally. So I'm showing this because I want you to follow the money. Show them this. This person, Sir Bill Browder, okay, he's actually in connection with the US government in some way, shape, or form, but he's obviously in the UK. But he's talking about what went down in that horrible, horrible event last Friday. And basically, the only grown up in the room was Zelensky, President Zelensky. And I say that because all of the world agrees with me. Everyone who wants democracy, human rights to endure, will agree with me. And I think even those who might be watching this who voted another way in November 2024 can even see this. Just like you didn't vote for a South African to take over our government, you did not vote for what we know as a fact, that if Europe were to fall again to fascism, the rest of the world is going to suffer big time. We are right now at the beginning of fascism. And he's talking about this actually in certain terms. Fascism, whether you believe it or not, is weakest at the end. I'm sorry, at the beginning, at the end. Whether you believe it or not, we are now working within a functioning fascist regime. Now, you may not want to admit it, but yes, it's happening. And so now it's up to you to decide, how am I going to fight it? This person, again, Times Radio has wonderful commentary, real journalists, right? In this particular instance. And they are giving the perspective from where it's happening, i.e. in Europe, okay? Get your information from other sources, all right? And understand that the only way for you to have a overall perspective is to follow the money. He is explaining how Europe, right, got here, as well as the US, but how Europe is now having to deal, right? Now, everyone may or may not agree with the fact that the approach to how this happened is not a good one. But if Europe now takes on more of, or rather, let me put it this way, because it's not a good situation one way or another. The US giving so much money to NATO was a must. That alliance has kept the US safe. And it was, in fact, only the US that benefited from Title 4 or Article 5 of the NATO agreement, which is an attack on one of us is an attack on all of us. It was 9/11 when other countries helped the US on US soil. That was the only time that that article has been used or implemented. Let that sink in. And so now for the US, who chartered the UN, who chartered the NATO agreement, to take a 180 and totally annihilate all of its allies, to become a dictator of its own, to become a regime, a fascist regime, that's not what you voted for, or at least I hope not. Whichever way you voted, other than blue, and whatever that reason was, now you are in a position to say, wait, I did not vote for fascism, or at least I hope you didn't. I did not vote for an unelected official to take over and completely dismantle the government. So in this, again, segment, it's more about learning about from the European side how this is playing out, or how it looks like it's going to start playing out. Again, this was back, again, talking about Friday's event in the Oval Office. Consume it, and then the cognitive dissonance really has to be pretty high at this point. Then this last one is why I wanted to make this. So right here in her transcript, I love her, Leisha Miller. She's an attorney, but she's obviously very well, I mean, I would consider her a journalist, and her research is spectacular. But again, she is a lawyer, so she knows how to research, right? This was all about, again, what happened on Friday and the new world order, which is not looking very good for the US. I want you to hone in though right here. Again, all of these specific videos will be linked below. But I want you to look at this. So at time 2401, minute 2401, she's saying how Europe, EU, right? The EU, the European economy is 27 trillion, right? And because of one event that happened this past Friday, now the US really only is dealing with the Russian economy, which is, yeah, you can read that. And that's maybe grossly overestimated because Russia, along with China, they're pariahs, but yet they're using their leverage to collectively start a new order. That new order is based on dictatorship. That new order is based on authoritarianism. That new order is based on fascism. I bring this to you because what makes more sense? If I am a country and I want to have global dominance, would it not make sense to want to play nicely with those that have the 27 trillion economy versus the one? Now, China, again, if you want to be friends with China, okay, but understand, again, there are values involved, there are ideologies involved. This 27 trillion comes with the idea of democracy, staying in put, values that hopefully you share of human rights, democracy, fairness, health, and security for all, as opposed to what you would get by colluding literally with those dictators that basically just want to say imperialism take over again. Please, please, for the sake of your descendants, for the sake of your own safety, because let me tell you right now, people always thought of the US as being pompous. And guess what? We were okay with that because we still stood for democracy and human rights. And now we are the pariahs. And you might say, oh, well, that's not a big deal. Oh, yes, it is. Because if you're only thinking about how we are going to collectively be better because of isolationism, look at this right here. Which do you think is better for us? Because whether you want to be isolationist or not, this is a global economy. The way that the US is acting now is not going to serve us long-term at all. So you have a decision to make. You voted one way, and you probably now are regretting it because now you are the other. And that is fine because if that puts you in a place of cognitive dissonance and then spurs you to action so that you fight for democracy and human rights, then that's what I want to know. That's what I want to hear. Because until you were hurt, you were okay with what was happening. But now that you are the target, now you can understand where the conflict is happening. So I beseech you to stand up for your rights, to stand up for democracy, to stand up for human rights, and to do everything you can to, one, make sure that the co-president goes away forever, and two, that you vote so that you're standing for democracy and human rights. That doesn't mean that you're a Democrat. That doesn't mean that you are a liberal. It means that you believe in democracy and human rights. And it shouldn't end because of white supremacy, patriarchy, or misogyny. We get to choose. Fascism, which is taking hold right now, is weakest at its beginning and at the end. We can stop this, and you can stop it. Until we meet again, take care, take charge, God bless.